So this week I wanted to make something from Ultimate Chicken Horse. And of course, to start that, I need to first make the characters in the game. I'm going to make 4 characters, but first I'm going to start with the horse. To make the horse, I first start with a light brown and turn it into a thick worm. Then I indent a head and a body and cut it so that it's the proper shape for both the head and the body. Then after that, I pinch out some ears and just start to focus on all of the details that I can make with just the simple light brown color. After that, I make the tail, and then after I have the tail, I start to work on the legs. The legs are just rolled out balls of clay so that they're just a coil, except on the top part that attaches to the body, I squish out the top so that they can more easily be attached and blended into the rest of the body. I attach the first one and then blend it in, and then I attach the other 3 and blend all of those in all at once. Once all of the legs are blended in, I can then start to add the details in other colors. For this, there are 2 other colors, but first I'm going to do the middle one of the medium brown. I first add the actual mouth and nose onto the front part of the mouth and cut in a mouth. Then I add in the little hair tuft thingy, I don't know what it's called, which is just a spiked up coil of the same brown clay put along the neck. Then another light brown thing onto the tail, and then in dark brown, the 2 eyes and the 4 hoofs. The 2 eyes are just small dots of it, and the hoofs are just ever so slightly larger balls of the dark brown. Once I add in the hoofs, I can move on to the next character, the raccoon. The raccoon is just a bunch of different colors of gray, so first I'm going to start off with a darker, more medium gray, and just make the entire body and head. First I start off with the midsection and the torso, then I move to the legs, which are just lumps of clay attached twice onto the bottom section in a leg shape. Those get blended in, and then longer arms, which are just the same as the legs, get attached to where arms would go onto the upper torso. Then I make a football shape of gray with the same squish down attachment I did for the horse's legs, and blend it all in so that there's no obvious gap or seam. And then with the same dark gray, I make triangles and then fill the center of those triangles with a lighter gray. These triangles get placed on the top of the head to make ears. And then once I have the ears, I can start to work on more different colored details. First is the lighter gray part on the torso, which has a bunch of different sharp indents on it, I guess. And then the black hands and feet. The feet are just, they have 2 toes. And then with this dark gray, I make the tail. And then with an even darker gray, I add 2 lines to the tail, because that was actually dark gray instead of black. Once the tail is done, I kind of just set it off to the side because I can't really work on the raccoon as well if it's attached. But after that, I work on the actual hands. The hands are similar to the feet, except they have 1 extra digit, which is 3 fingers, instead of 2. After I have the hands, feet, and the rest of the body, I can start to work on the face, starting with the snout thingy, the mouth area, which is a lighter gray with a black nose attached, then 4 black whiskers, 2 on either side, all being the same size, and then last, a single black line for the mouth. After that, I get a large black line for the eyes, and then 2 white dots for the actual eyes themselves. After that, I do anything that I can to add wrinkles or tufts of fur or just a texture. For this, I just kind of pinch at it and cut at it and poke at it until it looks properly furry. Once I add the fur, I can add back the tail and move on to the next character, the sheep. The sheep starts out very simply with just a large chunk of white clay that gets just poked until it looks kind of like a cloud. Then I indent a little area for the completely black head, and then On top of the head, I just put 2 ears, while still on the layout, the same side as that. Then I roll out 4 black coils for both the arms and the legs. The arms get placed where the arms would go, right below where the head is, and then the legs go on to the bottom part of the lamb, and then I add the facial features in white. There are 2 white eyes and then a mouth, although there is also a nose. The nose just being 2 pieces of white clay put at a T shape and then cut to the correct size so that it's a not super large nose. Once I have the nose added, I can work on the final character, the chicken. The chicken starts with a slightly grayish white, just to make it different from the lamb, and then even darker gray wings for the arm-ish things. Those are just flattened sheets that get attached to the sides. Then I work on the beak, which is just 2 triangles of yellow, 1 larger one and 1 smaller one, the larger one going on the top and the smaller one going on the bottom. After that, I can work on the feet, which are talons, I think. I don't know what they're called. And then they just get added onto the bottom with just a little Y shape for the feet. After that, I make a red thingy. I don't know the names of any of this stuff, so I'm not going to make up any. And this gets attached to the top of the head, and then I can add 2 black eyes and start working on the base. The base is very complicated for this, but I first start with 2 chunks of brown clay, one being very low to the ground and one being a lot higher up. Still, it's relative because it's actually not super high up, it's still pretty close to the ground. After I have those 2, I can position everything to be correct, and I can reposition 2 of the animals, with the raccoon dancing, I guess, and the sheep crawled up into a ball, scared for his life. Now that I have those 2, I can then make a flag, or the flag for the finish area. It's just a wire with a bunch of brown over it, just a thin layer in a circular shape, and then a flat triangle of red attached at the very top, at the farthest point away from the ground. Some of the wire is left exposed so that I can poke it into the ground, but first I need to add the grass, which is just a flat sheet of green, except when you add it this way, there will be air bubbles in it, so it is very important to poke up the air bubbles to make sure that it can be released and then reflattened and smoothed. Once I have the grass added, I can then poke in the flag and start to add the surroundings. The biggest surrounding is a wrecking ball, which is going to need a lot of support, so I use a wire to make sure that the actual wrecking ball is not just going to be flat. To first start with the wrecking ball, I need a yellow square and then 2 pieces of yellow going off the sides from it, which are then connected on one of the corners, and then in the very center of the block, an indent in both of those 2 additions of yellow. Then I add some black into the indents in the center to make it look even more indented, and then I add a bunch of red. 2 onto the black indents and 1 in the very center on that piece of yellow that attached the 2 other pieces of yellow. Then I make the actual wrecking ball, which is just a ball of maroonish clay with a hook and then 2 flat pieces of red, one on either side, not on the hook, but on not the opposite side of the hook, but a quarter away from the hook. This gets stabbed in across from the hook, and then black is added to the wire that is going to be directly attached to the hook. Then I add a second piece of black so that it actually has the Y shape that it does in the game, and then I attach blue where the 2 lines connect. Then I attach the wrecking ball completely and add a little bit of gray for support, because I can't just have this floating. It actually has to obey the laws of physics. And now I make the 2 wooden platforms that I want to make. I first started with a ball stylus to try and make a wood texture, but I eventually just started using a paper clip and just indenting it anywhere that I could to make a pretty good wooden texture, if I do have to say so myself. I did this on every side except for the bottom because no one's going to see the bottom, and on one of them I added the same gray support on the bottom. Next, I flattened out a sheet of blue to act as some kind of water, and also to attach every single piece together. I was able to attach both of the pieces of actual land to the water, then the 2 wooden platforms, and then the wrecking ball, except it didn't feel dangerous enough like it would in the game, or chaotic enough, so I added a ball of just glass shards, I guess, I don't know, just a spike ball, which is just a medium gray with a bunch of light gray spikes sticking out of it. And when I say a bunch, I do actually mean a lot. There is a significant amount, and they're just kind of everywhere. Wherever I felt there was enough empty room to put another one. Once I had the spike ball, I attached it to the rod that was holding up the wrecking ball, and then placed all my characters. The raccoon at the flag, the lamb at the beginning, the chicken falling into the water, and then the horse getting absolutely smacked by the wrecking ball. Once I had all these characters attached, it was finally finished. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like. If you want to see more like it, then subscribe. And if you want to see something specific, then leave a comment.